Round number 7 of the RaceKraft V8 Vets Championships, and with just a couple left to run, Season 23 is coming towards its back half. The Can-Am Trophy 150 gets us underway from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Drummondville in Ontario, Canada is home to tonight's racing, and I tell you what, Dave, this one's going to be a little bit of a short affair, short, sharp shoot through what is a track that has played host to it's nothing short than a number of historical moments in supercars history in the Australian sim racing community.
Yeah, it's a very high average speed racetrack, lots of sweeping corners along back straight, all only separated by this sort of tabletop double apex hairpin of Moss Corner. So it's a great place to bring these cars racing, challenge our drivers through the corners, and unleash the beasts down the straight. It's up there in the Great White North, sort of, yeah, just northeast out of Toronto there. We'll zoom in and look at that relatively simple, deceptively simple track layout that it is. But high speeds on that back straight. So sweeping and undulating through turns 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, it certainly is, and was reminded tonight of a Scops round from all the way back in 2019 when Jake Spearer was going absolutely bananas over a massive accident between turn 1 and 2, and that's because it's actually quite narrow and undulating. And as much as this track looks very simple and basic on the surface, Dave, those undulations, the rise and fall between turn 2 and turn 2A is significant over at Clady's Corner.
Indeed, and then you don't have a big braking zone at the end of that straightaway because you go into the S's where it just slowly, gradually tightens, and then pit entries between turns 9 and 10. It's about 4 kilometers, but the average speeds here, even in cars like these, very, very high. The average speeds. Now, what did I learn? The average speed of an IMSA GTP here is faster than Daytona. It was one of those like mind-bending things, but you're like, oh, there's only one slow corner here, and the rest of it is so fast.
Yeah, it's really just leaning on the downforce. These cars tonight won't have that to lean on, but regardless, the lick under 4 kilometers is certainly going to challenge them. Tyre fall-off is quite significant. And when the Pro Series qualifying came here earlier on in the year, marbles were a significant factor. That will be less so tonight with the adjustments to the debris system. Moving on to looking at our championship standings. Who leads the way is going to be no surprise to anyone involved, and realistically the last few seasons of Vets have pretty much just been a runaway affair. Jordan Ross has taken over the mantle from Scott Gamble, and he does indeed lead the way. But Darren Lobb returns to the series and returns to a little bit of form. His first season, the Gen 3 car, was a little bit lackluster. He has adapted to the new hardware and immediately slotted himself back up into P3. Can he run down the 9 points required to overhaul Ken Ladder will be the question here tonight. Wayne Walker has been there and thereabouts right throughout the season. It's also been really, really good, by the way, seeing Mark Poynton up and inside the top 5 regularly and reliably, albeit by 1 point at this point in time. Dean Logsdale trying to chase him down. Mackay will slide 1 spot further back this week to 7th. Troy Stone Street holding. Justin McLean jumps a number of spots inside the top 10, and Luke Allman's going to round out the big points gainers. Michael Whiting, after a few weeks out, has jumped himself a number of spots after an 8th place finish last time out. And Damien Cairns joins in, both gaining 6 spots. Stephen Banks, not in attendance last time out, will slide 14 spots. And a reminder that no drop rounds have been calculated into those statistics. That will be all calculated at the end of round 9, heading into our championship finale.
Which normally you can't drop. I think they rolled that rule back a previous season because of circumstances and stuff, but typically you can't drop the final race. This is what this race looks like. 150 kilometers, 38 laps. by the numbers. So 75% to be a classified finisher is 29 laps. Starting fuel is 50 litres with an uncapped fuel tank, which gives us a 1 compulsory pit stop race. A little different than some of the others trying to cram 2 compulsory stops into 150 k's around here. Would have been a little bit much, I reckon. So this is going to be interesting, the pit window that we end up for this race.
And in terms of getting those pit stops done, what are we expecting to happen here tonight? Only 150 kilometers. That means the fuel drop is not expected to be all that significant. You are only going to need to make 1 compulsory stop here tonight, not 2. But the tyre fall off. What tends to happen with the new tyres is they fall off and then they hold and then they fall off again. They sort of stabilize for an extended period of time before they do start to really fall off. There is a slight fall off during that stabilization period, but it's generally not all that much if you're hitting your markers. So you can stop as early as lap 2 and run all the way home. Look for the drivers pretty much. I'd be hanging for a safety car, to be perfectly honest with you, Dave, before I get my stop in, which means I'm probably going to run the tank all the way out to that lap number 18 marker, and there will be an opportunity to do a fair bit of fuel saving because, well, if you're stuck up behind somebody running up that hill in the Mario Andretti straightaway, you can't get it done. You can lift off and save a significant amount on the run into the S's.
Well, I'm pitting lap 5, so let's see whose strategy wins today.
And more information coming to you, and this is a little bit about who's been on the naughty list ratings here this season. So in terms of license points, well, they're accrued and they're held onto for a maximum period of 10 races, at which point they will roll over. Chad Lewis has served his pit lane start penalty after accruing 20 points. Actually, sorry, my apologies. They did change that ruling since I've last been here. So license points were reset at the start of the 23rd season. Tim Nicol has also served a pit lane start penalty after his 15 points as well. Drivers that are getting exceptionally close to their pit lane starts are Chris Miller, Mark Poynton and Bruce Tennant. Critically is Mark Poynton inside that top 5 points. He'll need to stay out of trouble here tonight if he can. Rob Crisdale, John Latham, Greg Sharp and Michael Whiting all sitting on 7. There's a couple drivers in there that you would normally say actually, in fact, all 4 of those drivers tend to not be in the at-fault column all that often. A big group of drivers sitting at 5 points as well. 15 drivers on 5 points we're hearing total. 3 drivers at 4, a few drivers at 2, and Dean Logsdale sitting at 1. But important to note is that marker of 15 penalty points nets you a pit lane start. So should Chris Miller, Mark Poynton and Bruce Tannock hit one more major at fault, they will be issued more license points and find themselves at grief of the stewards. Now, in terms of the license points and how they're actually calculated, that middle section is what we're actually looking at. So careless, no impact, effectively just means there may have been an incident coming together, but there was effectively no penalty issued, and normally just a warning. A redress is for a minor impact. A driver sort of gets touched, loses a spot. That's going to net you 2 points for your first occurrence, 3 points for your second, and for 3 or more will get you 5 of those points. So basically, Dave, the long and short of it is if you're hitting the naughty, getting called into the steward's office multiple times in the same race, those license point accruals increase.
Yeah, so just don't be doing none of that. To keep it clean best we can. That's what all of this is aiming to foster in V8 Vets.
And finally, having a quick look back to last week's driver of the day, Dave, and it looked like it was a little bit of a tyre save affair. It did a great job on tyres. Why don't you talk to us about last week's Chubby Buns Burgers driver of the day?
Yeah, so Chubby Buns Burgers driver of the day last time out was Logan Barnett. Came from very deep in the field, gained a lot of positions in what was a very chaotic race at Winton, where passing is difficult and proved very, very difficult. Or very, very, as Scott Rankin would say, difficult. So Logan Barnett was the driver of the day a week ago at Winton. I think this is quite a different racetrack.
Yeah, it is, but the overtaking difficulty is actually rather similar. Just a little bit different driving style. So it'll be interesting to see if Logan can start a fair bit further up here tonight and make a little bit of leeway. So that's it. We are on the way into our racing. I can tell you we're about a minute away. Yeah, Zoom wall. Good to check in with the drivers that we haven't seen in a little while before we get involved in our racing action. Oh, good to see the dyno is back. And Luke Allman is going to be joining us, as well as Stacey Boyd. Dean Flavel's there with the dyno. Dean Logsdale looks like he's a little bit still at the office as Dean, doesn't he?
Last week we played Guess the Dyno, where myself and Brock Caddo would take a guess, and then we'd have a look, and I was very good at guessing the dyno that ran pretty hot at Winton a week ago, I'll be honest.
Was he under the pump last week? Was he getting harassed and harangued a fair bit?
Oh, he was on the limiter. Whole race, I reckon Dino was on the limiter.
But this is a lot more calm and cool and collected racetrack. Travis Hunt's sitting there and chilling out. That camera angle's changed a little bit for Trav, which is good to see. Jeff Thomas has just stepped away for a few moments. I can tell you it's good to see John O'Gallen in a lot better pictures as well. After that PC upgrade, everything's working so much better for him. Goes back as well. Guarantee though, Dave might actually be still copping a little bit of rain, although he might be a little bit too far north to cop the weather that I'm seeing at the moment. Ken Latta, Greg Sharp, Christian Smart, Michael Stewart, Dan Hall, and Chad Lewis joining us on the bottom. Even though we don't have live pictures, it just says Chad, and that is therefore that counts to me as Chad showing up. Righto, we are moments away from heading into our grid, and this is the important one. Jordan Ross grabs himself another pole position by nearly 0.2 of a second to start off alongside of Darren Lobb out of P2 in the MRP liveried car. Ken Latta and David Nash. That's David Nash's best qualifying effort by a long, long way in V8 Veterans. He'll start off of the second row. Out of the third row, fifth and sixth spots is going to be that of John Latham and Wayne Walker. This has been an interesting battle to keep half an eye on back here. In the third row, fourth row of the grid, seventh and eighth is going to be Michael Taliancic. A return to form for him. Great to see Scott Mackay in the ERT car inside of the top 10 as well. Back end of the 10, it's going to be Stephen Banks from Troy Stone Street, Dave.
Yeah, so then starting on the next row will be Logan Barnett, reigning Choppy Bunsberger's driver of the day. He's got Jeff Thomas there in 12th. Him and his teammate didn't qualify particularly well at Winton, and it caused even more problems for them, so they're a bit higher up here. Justin McLean in 13th, Chad Lewis in 14th. Over in 15th is Daniel Hall, just ahead of Dean Logsdale. Michael Stewart and Stacey Boyd, two drivers on the Zoom, I reckon, are in 17th and 18th, while Stewie Hall and Bruce Tannock completes the top 20.
Outside of the 20, we are going to get back to Stephen Grumley and Michael Whiting. Whiting's a lot deeper in the field he would have liked, so he's going to have some issues working his way through. Travis Hunt just in behind him. Stephen Kennedy will be out of 24th position. 0.6 of a second back to 24th, by the way. Jonathan Gallen and Stephen Varga are going to be lining up alongside of each other. Watch for the fireworks on that row. Luke Allman a little bit deeper in the field. Remember, he's running inside the top 10 on points. Damien Cairns will be outside of him. And finally, the top 30 brought to us by Dean Flavel and Jamie McKnight.
Here's Christian Smart and Wayne Sanderson 31st and 32nd. Greg Sharp and Mark Poynton. It's a sharp and pointy row. That one there, 33rd and 34th. Darren Crosby and Brad Doval in 35th and 36th. David Kirby, we saw earlier, and we'll see him again here in 37th. Scott McCune, 38th. And Gary Buckland and Darren Goosey, 39th. 40th. A couple of others. So here's Chris Miller with no qualifying time.
Righto. 41 drivers to make it into the field for split one here tonight. And getting set and waiting for the back end of our gridding. About 30 seconds away from getting lights out at the moment. 38 laps the distance here. Only 150 Ks to take us the journey. And anyone you got your eye on, Dave? You said you're pitting on lap 5, so I'm guessing your vote goes to the driver who pits on lap 5.
Yeah, I'm going to be Jamie McKnight pitting lap 3.
Getting himself out of the queue. Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is I would be jumping out of the queue and getting some fresh air.
I'd do that if I was Chris Miller, but I don't think he's on the grid yet.
Well, the other driver I was thinking about is probably going to be somebody in the midfield. Think Michael Whiting. Right, lights are coming on from the front end of the field. Green flags in the air. Here we go. Run down to turn number 1. And to start comes from the outside of the front row. Darren Lobb is going to try and go the long way round. If he can hang on the outside here of the inside down at turn 2. Ross is going to fight it back there. Single file in behind for a couple of rows. Let's see who can make some ground. Is Darren Lobb going to be able to clear Ross? He tries to run him to the edge of the racetrack. Does get cleared eventually, and he'll lead us on the run down to Quebec corner for the first time tonight. And have a look at Jordan Ross wiggling the rear end of that car around quite early. He's going to need to look after some rear tyres.
Standing start could have been a bit hairy in some of the back rows, and through turn 2, here we are off the road with Stephen Varga.
Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be something to have a look at, and I can tell you Jordan Ross is trying to shove the nose straight up the inside of Darren Lobb at the second half of Moss Corner, which was an interesting spot. What it has done is checked up the run out the other side, and Ken Ladder's going to try and crawl all over him as they run up the hill at a Mario Andretti straightaway. John Latham started out a 5th. He's gained 1 spot on the opening ladder. Ken Ladder's already going for a little bit of fuel saving and backed out quite early. So blows are being traded early here from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and we watch and we wait. There will be somebody that will blink very early on. I think lap 2 is too early, Dave. I think you might be right. The first stop's about lap 5. I'm going to say about lap 8 is probably the better lap to come in. I think 5 is just a touch too early as well.
It'll all depend. So some of the biggest losers on that opening lap, unfortunately, Scott McCune and Stephen Varga we saw around. Chris Miller from the back, he's gained just a couple of spots. He's there in purple and running and racing.
Yeah, after not setting a qualifying time. A little bit difficult for Miller, but is trying to press on.
Off at turn 2. That's proving a challenging corner.
The problem is you dip a tyre off, and he might have found the barrier, Dean Logsdale. He might be the first driver who dives in the pit lane with that damage to the front left.
Yeah, so sometimes there's a bit of a squeeze on the way in there, and the corner just sort of keeps on going. Sometimes you pick up a little bit of understeer, you get the grass, and then the corner keeps going away from you, and you can't turn, you lose grip, and you end up in a pretty nasty little no man's land. It's a bit of side-by-side coming off Moss Corner, probably one of the more challenging ones here as well. Very unsighted from the driver's position heading in there. Oxdale's mostly back up to speed, but it's been costly.
Moss Corner is one of those ones that you just look at and you're like, I would really, really like to feel what it feels to go through this corner in the real world, because it gives you that seat of your pants feeling.
Allman.
And update, Allman's had an issue, and drive-through penalty for Dean Flavel. And it looks like he was the reason for Varga being elbowed off on lap 1. And there's our first few drivers. Right,
I'm going to guess 125 BPM.
Alternatively, it could be completely and utterly calm. I'm going to say about 105.
It's like when your mother or your father calls you by your full name, I reckon, seeing race control. But no, he's chill, apparently. He's got a lot of clear air. Oh, no, now it's going up. Now it's going up. He wasn't the only one. So Logsdale's gone and made a stop.
And that would be for the damage that he's suffered.
But he's cleared his compulsory pit stop now, and you'd want to not stop again. So Logsdale, leading driver of those who've cleared their compulsory pit stop.
But it's interesting to note that he actually didn't take any damage repairs, if you notice that left front corner. So, fuel drop done, clear air achieved. And the problem for him will be older tyres at the back end. Curious to see how long this margin at the front stays as it is. whether or not Jordan Ross might be just saving a little bit of fuel, saving a little bit of tyre. When you're at this level, Dave, you know that everyone behind you is trying to save fuel, trying to save tyre. They're not trying to press on because why would you?
It's going to be so interesting how it plays with just the one stop, because we're already past the critical lap number here. But if you do go early, you can put your tyres into a real world of hurt. You've got that opening sector. Oh, this is interesting for the race lead. Side by side, but you're not really going to get much overlap there. And I think Lob just holds on. You put yourself into a world of hurt with the first 3 corners really eating up the tyres here. And so you don't want to jump too early for the sake of your tyres, but we are in the compulsory pit stop window.
Yeah, that's the critical factor, right? So drivers that jumped the pit lane are probably drivers that were a little bit forced. Now we watch and we wait for who's going to be the first one to make a strategical move to jump out of line. And the route is already a pack around about 28th spot. That's thinking about jumping out of line. Jamie Knight's the head of that group. They've lost touch a little bit with Mark Poynton up ahead, who sits in 27th spot. So that'll probably be the first group that might think about an early stop. Nobody's dived to pit lane on lap 4. And now David Haynes starts to bite on his nails a little bit and says, please guys, please somebody make my prediction right.
Oh, I'm in the lane with my, lollipop and my fuel churn, just begging. Free service, free service here. It's like buying a new car. I'll include 2 years of capped price servicing.
He'll take 2 seconds off your pit stop, no questions asked.
What I won't give you is a 10-year drivetrain warranty the way some of these guys do their downshifts.
No, yeah, you've got to smash through them to get the car to pull up. Just watching the train of cars at the moment going from about 11th to 24th. Something's just happened to Michael Whiting as well. So it might be a window to jump back and have a little bit of a look at the start of the race as well. That incident, I want to watch what happened between Flavel and Varga, if we can. But for Michael Whiting, we're hearing there was something to do with a rejoin. And this will tell the story on lap 5 for Whiting. And I believe that was the rejoin they were talking about, so. And an update for David Haynes. Lap 5 was not the magic number.
This is what happened for Stephen Varga there. So he was on the inside, jumped a little bit there, and then we're just fractionally too late to that angle.
Gets his nose chopped off there.
But that's lap 1, turn 1 stuff here. Oh, he gives a little bit.
And Flavel late on the brakes, unfortunately, and nose to tail contact. So just more, it's just again, just front to rear contact really. Do wonder, the 66 machine there does have some damage on the front end. You nearly wonder whether or not Flavel might have been pushed into it, but 1 lap too early, Dave. 1 lap too early for the number.
It is Jamie McKnight though.
You did pick the car.
Like, I don't know why I thought Jamie would do it, but Jamie did it.
Now, most importantly, can you pick the Powerball numbers for me this week? I'll pick one number after all of the numbers that you pick, and I'm hoping that might be the right one.
What is the range for the Powerball numbers? Is it every whole 2-digit number, or?
I think it's 1 to 56.
Okay.
It's either 1 to 56 or 1 to 60, somewhere in that range.
I'm not even, one for instant scratchies or anything, so I'm not going to get any Powerball numbers out of me.
Well, pit stop done for him. Dean Logsdale's only just barely surfaced after the pit stop in front of him. So that will be that battle. But in the meantime, Jordan Ross is riding on the gearbox. Oh, Darren Lobb. And the rejoin from Denhall, no punishment for that one.
Bruce Tannock and Stephen Grumley have made a couple of spots as we've almost entered sort of a rhythm before any of the leaders look to jump for their pit stops. So Tannock from 20th to 15th. I think Tannock and Grumley were sort of just around about where Stephen Varga was and made some spots through all of that. Traction out of Moss. So critical, and you're starting to get a bit more of a fracture in this group with your top 5 leaving Mike Talyancic behind. So Darren Lobb and Jordan Ross, who have battled side by side for the race lead at points, get Ken Latta, John Latham and Wayne Walker along with them. I don't mind where John Latham is in this race at the moment, if I'm honest with you. I think that's a pretty smart little position to be in.
Just sitting quietly, watching and waiting. And the other thing for John is that he will get the first real tell of whether or not the undercut's probably worthwhile.
Ken Latta on the podium a week ago, running in a podium spot again today. A picture of focus and concentration. Because you feel like it could kick off between first and second. Jordan Ross has had a couple of nibbles, but then I think going, okay, well, if that's how it's going to be, I can wait and maybe have a slightly shorter fill or slightly undercut you. We're heading for one stop where the fuel fill absolutely will cover the 4 tyre change. So your stop length is going to be based on the fuel, not the tyres.
Yeah, now it's just a game of cat and mouse. Who's going to blink first and where do we expect it to come from, really?
How's the rev? 7... Oh, could be a click taller, I reckon. Just getting in the toe, getting 7,500 RPM in 6th gear. Darren Lobb's got Jordan Ross as a cape through the S's. So close through that segment.
That's really the question that we're asking, isn't it? Where is it going to come from? And when you've got these two guys that are so close together in terms of pace, have a look at the different line as they enter turn 2. That screamed to me that Lobb was a touch wide on entry. And that might have been the vulnerable point. We've already seen the nose shown a couple times at Moss Corner and the hairpin at turn 5. Yeah, again, the front tyres look like they're going off a little bit from Lobb.
That's where Ross had a look before, between the apexes at Moss, and then went, actually, probably not a smart idea right now. Checked himself up about a car length. But this top 5 still with more speed than Talyancic, Nash, Scott Mackay, Troy Stonestreet or Logan Barnett that complete the top 10. And then it's super densely packed from 11th place again as well, which is a group that Jeff Thomas is leading.
Yeah, so a couple little battle packs, probably worthwhile jumping back through them. And you're right, this one with Jeff Thomas at the helm, Chad Lewis, Stephen Banks, Justin McLean, all tightly bound together. A little bit of a gap back to Bruce Tannock in 15th. 20th to 15th spot for Bruce Tannock at the moment. Tagged Stephen Grumley, as Stephen Grumley trailing him, also up 5 spots. On to lap 11 now, and that pit window is closing fast. Remember, we're only expected to go to a maximum of 18 laps before they're all expected in. And Scott McCune is going to dive to pit lane, so he's going to be the next driver to trigger. I start to remember off the back end of the pack as well, lost some spots on that one. Oh boy.
Scott, what's the thing underneath the rear wing called on the back of the Mustang?
I can't remember, and I've been desperately trying to.
Rhymes with Zolder.
Nolder? I knew it started with N. It was a Nolder, because I was thinking of going, it's Neuwirth or something like that, but no, it's a Nolder. There you go. I knew it started with N. I didn't know what the rest of them were. It's good, because I've been looking for that fact, because I'm going to be talking about it tomorrow night. And I couldn't find it anywhere. It led to a desperate search of the internet, Dave. And it was listed nowhere on the internet.
So these are the kind of facts you only get when you're friends with David Haynes. We did a bit of critiquing of Jeff Thomas and Chad Lewis's information overlays and setup the other week, so we don't need to retread any of that. But both of them have got numerous extra overlays, like Chad Lewis with the track map, and Jeff Thomas might have 2 relative boxes going on or something like that. So they're both staying updated as they run 11th and 12th.
What do you run, Dave? I'm now curious as to, so you've critiqued others, but what do you run and why? Because there's always
JRT on the 4th monitor, baby.
Okay. I'm a Race Labs guy. I really like the Race Labs battle box, or the head-to-head, I think it's called in the overlays, because it gives me a lot of information about what sectors I'm better or worse than the drivers around me, and where I need to defend them before they even get to me, or I get to them.
So I'm watching the pace drop off for everyone. We had a point where 20 cars were in the 119s, and then 15 cars were in the 119s, and now it's just the top 6 cracking into the 119s now. And so just each lap, every driver in the field is losing about a tenth, and I think it's just going to be the heat build-up in the tyres. You go through constantly turning in the final 3 corners, short pit straight, into constantly turning through these next 3 corners as well. Your left side tyres just heat build up as you sort of at the limit of the grip, sliding it a little bit, 160, 170 k's an hour.
Well, important to note, Dean Lonsdale and Jamie Knight, who have both already made their stops and made them quite early, both went 1:20.308 for Logsdale, 3:09 for McKnight. And here we go, it's going to get on as they go down through Moss Corner. And there'll be Stewie Hall, Travis Hunt, Stephen Kennedy and Michael Stewart all going toe-to-toe as they run up the Mario Andretti straightaway. Here we go at the S's. They'll sort themselves out when they get there, although Travis Hunt was cheekily trying to show a nose as Kennedy tried to feed his way back in. Nothing doing at that opportunity. And there we go.
Top 10, yeah, getting a handful of drivers now.
A fair bit of activity as they come to the attention of their crews now.
So comparison's sake, his Jamie McKnight's stop was 21 seconds. Just approaching that for the drivers that are on the lane right now. And going a bit more than that. So then you've seen a couple of other 27-second stops. That seems like what everyone else is doing now. Don't tell me Jamie McKnight's underfueled it by about 6 seconds. Hasn't he run out of fuel on the last lap before?
Anyone who hasn't run out of fuel on the last lap hasn't tried. Fuel saving is some of the most fun you can have. Or at least it's some of the most fun I can have racing a car. I love a good fuel save strategy.
Scott Mackay leading of the cars that have pitted, not surprising. Oh, dramas on pit entry. Big dramas for Wayne Walker on pit entry. What? Darren Lobb and Jordan Ross pit from the lead of the race, but Latham and Walker had massive problems on the pit entry. I only just caught the end of it. No one's got a black flag unsafe pit entry, but you can see how much time they've lost how much further behind they were than Jordan Ross, who's overshot his pit stall. So it's all happening for the leaders on pit lane here. This is Walker's perspective. Keep an eye on Latham in front.
And I don't know whether or not he knew that Latham was absolutely coming to the pit lane, because that looked like a late call. And confirmation as well, Darren Lobb has gotten out ahead of Jordan Ross, and it might have been that error getting into the box for Ross. In the meantime, still waiting in the lane for both Walker and Latham. In fact,
no, Latham's gone. It's just Walker and Travis Hunt waiting. Travis Hunt, I did see a black flag for. Wayne Walker, I didn't see one.
And the reason for Walker will be the unsafe pit lane entry, because he dived in, crossed the line, and cut back in again.
I just didn't see the flag come up for it, but surely that's what happened. So of that leading group of 5, drama for 3 of them, and Ken Latta stayed out. He's just pitting now. Wayne Walker's going to call this into race control, which I would be tempted to not do, because I don't think it goes well for him. But would you like a repeat? No, this is Travis Hunt speeding.
He missed his pit lane speed limit, because he looked like he pulled that up to 56k an hour, which is the limit here at Motorsport, and it looked like he sped up again.
Troy Stone Street also with a black flag. It is a pretty slow pit lane speed limit of 56 kilometres an hour here. 35 miles an hour if you'd like, which I wouldn't, but that's what it is.
Stone Street will be on exit. Yeah, I can tell you Stone Street was doing 60 kilometres an hour when he got to the pit lane exit line. He punched the pit lane limiter to get out early. Now,
that's an option. Mike Talyancic was 6th before this all kicked off. He stops now. Ken Latta is ahead of Darren Lobb and Jordan Ross. Going 1 lap longer has given Ken Latta the effective race lead.
That shouldn't be possible. Unless they both...
Well, I mean, it should be, because Jordan Ross overshot his pit box and lost 2 seconds doing that. And then maybe Darren Lobb had a scruffy pit entry. Something. Or didn't warm up the tyres right. Or
McKnight as well. And that's on the current lap. Yeah, so it's Moth Corner between Mark Poynton and Jamie McKnight on lap 16. Well, something that went on a little bit there. Which, trying to scramble a replay for you guys watching along at home at the moment.
Got Wayne Sanderson, David Kirby, and Chris Miller that haven't stopped yet. So from the back of the grid, Chris Miller's running long to Jamie McKnight, the first brave pit stopper that doesn't seem to have worked out especially great for, unfortunately. But here they are going to come towards the ends of lap 17, just beginning lap 18.
I'm curious if Miller comes in, so no, Chris Miller's going to continue on. So he's the lone warrior that goes the extra lap.
Wayne Sanderson, where's your pit box?
I'm going to assume it's at the very back end of the pit lane. Because,
because he didn't stop. So let's see, he qualified 32nd.
David
Would
Kirby
you
qualified
believe that there are 32 pit stalls?
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure he'll be the very last stall, because Kirby's 5 from the front and he qualified 37th.
This happens every race. You've got to look this stuff up, people. It's in the sim how many pit stalls there are. You know where you qualified. He's got no fuel. He's missed his pit stall. And a rolling stone will gather some moss. Oh, no.
Well, it's given up the ghost. But he is on the inside of a corner, a very long way out of the way, and a location that would be reasonably safe to extricate him from.
Chris Miller meant to go this many laps, so he's pitting in, and he'll find his pit crew. Ken Latta will go back to the lead of the race. Got a couple of seconds in hand, but Darren Lobb and Jordan Ross look like they are catching him. This is close to fastest lap of the race stuff for Darren Lobb as well.
And 0445 is called in the tow. Sanderson's still sitting. And remember how we said that Wayne Walker, you may not want to call that one in?
Yeah.
Well, he's got himself penalised by calling that one in.
Because I don't think Latham did. But we will go safety car. Surprising.
I don't agree with that. Yeah.
It's very out of the way on that one.
Yeah. But it's going to neutralise the strategy effectively. So for the drivers who've just recently pit, now think back all the way to Dean Logsdale and Jamie McKnight. Now for McKnight, he pit from 28 spots, so he has gained 2 spots, but he's going to lose them as this race continues to progress because he's on very, very old rubber. For Logsdale, who started out at 16th spot, got elbowed off in the early running, he's 23rd at the moment, and the problem is everyone's only just pit, and he's gone past the pit lane entries. So, and there's an issue for somebody down at Moss Corner as well. I think Scott McCune's had an issue on the safety car.
Jamie McKnight's making a second stop. McCune is out here. Miller's going slowly. I heard Miller on the radio, and he's back there going super, super slow.
I think he's out of fuel. He's also out of fuel.
Hey, I see a 10-second stop for him. Did he take tyres but no fuel? Why would you have a 10-second stop otherwise?
But if that's the case, how did he go 19 laps? He's
had a pit stop problem, right?
Yeah, there's been a pit stop problem for sure. He's literally just come in and popped back out. So yes, you're 100% right. He has forgotten to fill that car. Now, I thought there was an issue for McCune, but what I missed was it was actually not an issue for McCune, it was an issue for Miller.
Yeah, this is on his outlap. Chris Miller just grinds to a halt. Even from turn 2, he's off the road, staying out of the way. He saved so much fuel that he's forgotten to take more.
Do you reckon they forgot the churn and they brought the refueling rig and they pulled up and went, no, it's a sprint round, you can't use the refueling rig?
So about here, I reckon he's realised. It's going to be my Gordon Ramsay idiot sandwich of the week, unfortunately.
Yep, and conveniently there is no cars off the lead lap, so no one to wave by, so we can get this safety car in and out of the way very, very quickly. As the McLaren GT3.
There's 2 cars out of the race, and both of them, it's because they ran out of fuel. Man. Most positions gained, I think, is Damien Cairns at 12. Sorry, Mark Poynton at 12, Damien Cairns at 10.
So I'm just wondering how we're doing for who's gained the most spots at the moment. I can see Darren Goosey's started 40th up to 32nd, so he's gained some spots. Mark Poynton's plus 12. Damien Cairns is also up a number of spots. Bruce Tannick's doing actually quite well for now. That's not concerning at all when you see the safety car have a big old blink. That's not confidence inducing. But
what happens if the safety car needs to tow? We release the unsafety car?
Well, the good news is the safety car doesn't need permission to tow, so we can tow immediately.
What if the safety car runs out of fuel?
They also need to tow. I'm hoping the safety car won't run out of fuel. Shouldn't have a fuel limit, number one, and number two. You can also, fun fact, you can set, fast repair limits are set per car. So I would assume that they would give the safety car. What did I miss, Dave? I see that you made a comment that I missed something that you said. Oh, I'm so sorry, Dave.
I literally listed the top 3 most positions gained, and then you said, I wonder who's gained the most positions. I was like, I just said them, Scott.
I had to look away at some work stuff that had just come in.
Yeah, well.
And I blocked everything out as it was. So, but anyway, safety car's now in pit lane, and the fans at home got a double update on who's gained the most spots thus far tonight. Never a bad thing. Right, Ken Latta gets a jump nice and early. Jordan Ross will actually get a reasonable jump compared to Darren Lobb, and you can see he's glued to that rear bumper. And in fact, trying to show the nose as early as he possibly can. Forces Lobb to run it in quite hot to turn 1. Could we have a new winner on our hands with 17 laps to go?
Cygnus has been good for Mike Taliancic as well, up into 5th. Jordan Ross is restarting with a vengeance here, breathing down the back of Darren Lobb's neck again. Now, it's absolutely in Darren Lobb's control to let someone other than Jordan Ross win this race, but is it within Darren Lobb's control to let Darren Lobb win this race? Because it's looking very tough.
Well, the problem is, if he goes for a move and it's not successful, he's going to be very vulnerable. And Jordan Ross will be very aware of that one as well. John Latham lurking behind. And Mark Poynton, by the way, has picked up a points penalty, which will be 1 point. Now remember, that will move him to 13 licence points as well. And Ross will finally have the dive at the last corner. Contact made. They'll make secondary contact. Big wiggle for Ross, and he'll lose one more spot as well.
Darren Lobb gives him a little bit back. John Latham goes through for 3rd. Now the Synergy Sim Racing teammates are together, and Ross made it clear he was going to have a little bit of a look. Darren Lobb didn't want to give him too much space there. The two of them banged doors once and then twice.
That's the thing. Different kind of race now, isn't it? But it's been so difficult for people to actually get the job done all night long. This might just be the finishing order.
Darren Lobb's a hungry lion, and you don't want to get between a hungry lion and its meal.
Well, the thing is, if anyone's going to master the arts of the African savannah, it'll be the man from South Africa himself. Can he go from lion being hunted, animal being hunted, to animal on the prowl will be the question. And something's happened to Bruce Tannick, and he's on the radio.
dropping a spot or two as they head down the back straight as well. He's just in front of Michael Whiting, just behind Stacey Boyd. You're always going to get a big checkup through Moss Corner as well when they're racing as close as you see these groups right now. 15 laps to go right now.
And the other thing we've got to look back at, have a little bit of a think about. Jimmy Knight and Mark Poynton came to blows all the way back on lap 16. Hearing that was lap 16 down at Moss Corner, so it must have been a lap later. Anyway, not worthwhile to look at. And Jordan Ross, I tell you what, has got the job done. He's back to third spot. And the reason for that is the drive that has not worked on Darren Lobb just worked on John Latham. I guess, Dave, practice makes perfect. He's been setting up to make that move work all night. You find you found a willing target.
Yeah, puts a bit of space between Latta, Lobb and Jordan Ross, though. It's cost him a tiny bit of time. New PB last lap for Darren Lobb, a 119.119, which has got a little bit of symmetry to it. Doesn't quite take away the fastest lap of the race from Jordan Ross, a 119.080.
Huge moment! Up and over the crest at 2. How he kept that thing on the island, I have no idea.
Now that's cost him a lot of time, and this won't be a personal best lap for Darren Lobb. Ken Latta has a 1.2 second lead.
The thing is, Latta will need to stay cool, calm, and sure of himself. And the big question mark for me is what mark has put on the tyres for Lobb. We're going to keep our eyes on this battle. This is for the last couple spots inside the top 10. And this is a lot further back for Travis Hunt. At the moment, sitting 37th on the road. And have a look at the gaggle of cars directly ahead of him.
Yeah, because he had that penalty on pit lane, didn't he? Cost him an extra 40 seconds, put him basically to the back of the field, only behind Wayne Walker, who also had a penalty. Chris Miller and Wayne Sanderson are both back in the race, so they're going to try to complete at least 75%. You would imagine Miller 1 lap down, Sanderson 2 laps down.
It's going to be annoying me, I've got to be honest, if I was Sanderson, because he got told to tow, and then immediately they told Miller to tow, and they could have waited an extra lap to tow Miller. But that's procedural things. Jeff Thomas, though, hunting. Logan Barnett and Stephen Banks. Takes a little bit of time. The problem is on the entry through turn 4, is you can carry a lot of pace into there, but then you're offline on the braking zone for 5.
You a bit of a motorbike man?
Yes, I am.
What bike has Jeff Thomas got?
I believe it's a Ducati. I think Aprilia though. I do love the dry clutch rattle of a Ducati.
I like the diagrams of some of the valve train stuff. What about there's the Honda one that's like basically a V8, but it's actually just 4 cylinders, and that's sideways, more sideways than Darren Lobb, probably.
Very similar. I think Lobb was a touch more sideways. All getting a little bit sedentary. Well, I said that. And then Tanak arrives on screen with Michael Whiting in hot pursuit. And something's happened to Stewie Hall as well.
This will be a bit thrilling. A bit too thrilling. Moss corner. Slowest corner on the racetrack. Still not that slow.
One on the back straightaway though, for Stuart Hall has already lost one spot on this lap. Has Greg Sharp to his inside, he's going to try and make it 2. And will finally manage to slot himself in.
Incredibly few drivers that actually did pit under that second safety car for new tyres. I think it was just Jamie McKnight and Scott McCune. Doesn't seem to be paying too many dividends just yet. It needs to be perhaps a little bit of a later safety car to generate much of an offset, as obviously quite a few drivers had only just pitted 2, 3, 4 laps before that. Oh, Wayne Walker's penalty put him very deep in the field. He is 36 with Scott McCune and Travis Hunt.
Still trying to cut his way back through the field. And the margin's back up at the pointy end of town. Abs stabilised back under a second again. So Lobbs made some time, but not a huge deal. Ross has made bigger amounts of time on Lobb.
Bit of round 2.
It's incoming, isn't it? You just feel it's just there and thereabouts. Probably worthwhile going for that full lap ride on board once more.
Tonight, exclusively live on SimSpeed, the undefeated season champion Jordan Ross takes on Darren Lobb.
No holds barred grudge match.
There's no, championship belt or anything, but
well, there's no championship belt unless they want there to be one. There could be a belt. The problem being, you'd have to come back the very next week and defend it.
So there's a couple of places Jordan Ross likes to have a sneaky look with his nose. It's here at the final corner again. He's going to try it one more time. He's going to dive it in there a little bit deeper, and there'll be contact again. 2 hits, 2 serves for the second time.
And he recognised from that first that he can't wait. He can't wait for the best opportunity. He's just got to take any opportunity. His time's running out, and Lobb's going to come back at him. You just wonder whether or not that might be termed bump and run if it goes to the stewards. Lobb's better under braking. He dives it in deeper, pulls the car up later, but he's got no mid-corner and drive off. And there was nearly a return of serve as they got through turns 2 and 3.
Got risk everything. Risk everything written on the front bumper. So does that mean he's going to have to use it? And the two of them have dropped a little bit more time to Ken Latter, and there's not too many laps left in this one. I like to see this if you Ken Latter. Somewhat ironically, it's Jordan Ross and Darren Lobb painting themselves into a corner.
And something's gone on deeper in the field we're hearing as well. It's a big one. Car round rejoins. And I just wonder if Greg Sharp's right front tyre is still attached. It looks like it is. But Justin McLean falling through the field.
So it's the downhill left into Moss has led them into some trouble. Incredibly packed through all the field since that race start as well.
There's also a couple of big breaks now on the field as well. And look at the checkup. Is that McLean already around there? I believe it is.
will be a pit lane penalty for Justin McLean. So this is him.
Stuart Hall somehow involved in something. I don't necessarily think it's that incident that McLean's been penalised for, and the reason for it is the penalty came through very, very quickly. And they normally like to deliberate just a little bit so they can get the result a little bit more right, you know, consider some extra angles, just in case there was something that they may have missed. That would be far too quickly for a penalty to be reached. But it's that secondary contact on Greg Sharp, isn't it?
So Greg Sharp, the dramas are in front of him. He's absolutely sandwiched in the middle there. He's unaware of Stewie Hall on his outside there, because everyone else was bumper to bumper, nose to tail in the line there. And it was Hall that sort of tried to sail around the outside of a couple of them, wasn't it?
And race control deemed that contact would not have been made between Sharp and Hall. There was a gap between them, and then NetCloud has played its part in the resolution of that incident.
Exciting news, Scott. Mark Poynton has gained 15 positions.
I am still worried about him, though, and with 2 license points to play with across 3 races at the end of the season, he may get himself a pit lane start before the end of the season. But for now, these guys just not really making much of an inroad on ladder, although they did take 2/10 out of it on the previous lap. So we'll jump quickly through a few of the drivers tuning into us with a Zoom more. Stacey Boyd joining us. Battle pack with Dan Hall and Stephen Grumley as well. Hall's gained a few spots. All the drivers in this little battle pack have actually gained tonight. Grumley's +8, having a great night at the office. Now for a rear view shot out of the Evolution Racing team, Dan Hall, and an onboard shot. So on the right you can see what it looks like going out the front, and on the main picture what it looks like looking backwards. So Kirby's doing a phenomenal job here as well, Dave. 13 spots gained for the night.
Yeah, in the David versus Scott stuff, him and David Nash are my best bets. And I think you'll find that best David is ahead of best Scott in the battle between 6th and 7th.
Yep, so far tonight you're on course. Must admit though, for David Nash, finally gets a qualifying effort together. Starts up the pointy end and he's managed to keep himself clean.
Okay, then what's Jonathan Gallen's bike?
A dirt one, it's a KTM.
Alright.
Based upon those guards, I can see. I'm gonna say it's a KTM 450. around the outside, gets the job done as well for Gallen. So great time to tune in. Dean Logsdale on the recovery effort after the issues in the opening couple laps. He's working quite hard as well, you can see that for him.
Kenneth Ladder's just holding on to a bit of gap over Jordan Ross. That's surprising to me. But we're, quickly running out of laps. We're about to now just cross 3 to go. Ladder's got a 6/10 race lead over Jordan Ross.
Sharp still recovering from that incident a couple laps ago as well. In a good spot. Jamie McKnight has received a drive-through penalty just recently from race control as well. And as we check in with Chris Smart. Very tough to see what he's up to because the monitors are switched off because the VR is on.
Yeah, but he's got the dash still on, so that whatever good that's doing him.
So I was going to say on the stream deck over on the right. So he must be still adjusting to things as well. Do you reckon Motorsport features on the greatest tracks in the world, Dave?
Should be. It's pretty historic. It's probably one of Canada's best, and then all sorts here. F1, yeah, there it is with the red dots, Can-Am, etc. IMSA.
Truck.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that great finish?
Yep.
That led to an immediate brawl over the checkered flag. If you haven't seen that one. Not only of the pass in the grass, but crossing the start-finish line outside of the track limits because, well, there's a guy driving you into the fence. Worth the look. I think it's 2016 NASCAR truck, if I'm going to be honest. And by the way, an update on that bike for John Gallen. It is actually a KTM 350. I was wrong. I looked at it and went, I don't know if it is the 450. Indeed, it was not. It was only the 350 passed on to us by John's wife. And Luke Orman, the final of our drivers on the Zoom wall. Check in with him. Just in behind teammate Dean Logsdale at the moment. So for the two drivers coming across the line astern. By the way, we're about to pick up the white flag, and Darren Lobb gets back to Jordan Ross. He's going to repay the favour as he gets to the inside, and he's going to get the favour repaid to him. Barrett, right-hand side. A little bit of a margin for him to feed back into. Latham's a touch further back, but has he got the race car to finish the final lap of the race, or is he now the walking wounded?
Yeah, how much damage has Darren Lobb picked up? Surely some, and then Jordan Ross is nowhere near going to be close enough to catch Ken Ladder on this final lap the way that they're running.
Latham is in touching distance. It looks like the car is tracking okay. But Latham is making a supreme amount of ground at the moment, and if he can get the drive off of here, there will only be realistically one more opportunity, and Latham cannot. The car spits itself violently sideways over the dumps. And now he'll need to keep a look in the rearview mirror for Taliancic. For Ken Ladder, a long time between drinks. For the series, a long time since we've seen another name other than the 143 of Jordan Ross in victory lane. Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, 150 kilometres, and Ken Ladder gets redemption as he rounds the final corner. He wins in Gen 3 and Season 23 V8 Vets. And again, even though he's just won the race, you couldn't tell by the look on that one.
Oh, he gave the bicep a flex. He was pretty happy with that one, I reckon. He's saying, come on. And then, Jordan Ross and Darren Lobb had a bit of carry on there. So Ross finishes second, Lobb finishes third. Peter Latham, Stelianich and Nash. Dramas in the final corner, as always.
Is that Stewart out of fuel? I saw the colours of Michael Stewart glowing, but the rear light isn't on, so I think he's okay. So something might have happened at the final corner, and Whiting was on the radio. So it might have been involving him.
Well, let's look. A dive into that final corner is always so tempting. So Whiting with Stewart just behind, who goes for that dive into the final corner. No overlap, gets the rear quarter. Womp, both of them lock up.
But more importantly, you need to go and have a look at Damien Cairns, because he just barely gets out without crossing the line in the pit lane. And I think he's worried about redressing to Michael Stewart. So Michael Stewart's trying to redress to Whiting. Cairns is worried that he's going to get pinged and required to redress this one. Because look, he accelerates and stops. He's waiting. So he's trying to redress. And he's got nothing that he needs to worry about redressing for.
No. They crashed in front of you, my guy.
Oh well. John's mum. My apologies to John's mum. I thought it was John's wife, but either way, thank you, Mrs. Gallant, and belated happy Mother's Day from the commentary booth as well. I did know that John Gallant was the motocross guy, something we had talked about previously. Well, 150 kilometres, 38 laps the duration. Motorsport delivered as it always does, with a touch of drama, a sprinkling of a safety car in the middle just to bunch the field back up. And that back half of the race was one to watch. Ken Latta gets the job done from Jordan Ross. Lobb will be home in third, just hangs on to the back end of that one. After a dive on the penultimate lap, John Latham from Michael Taliancic, your top five. David Nash records one of his best results of the Gen 3 era. Inside the top 10, Scott Mackay, Chad Lewis, Stephen Banks, and Logan Barnett round out the top 10.
Jeff Thomas finishes 11th. And then Dan Hall in 12th, Stephen Grumley, Stacey Boyd, Bruce Tannock, Mark Poynton's going to be the biggest gainer of the race, 18 positions. And then Stephen Kennedy, 17th. Michael Whiting, Dean Logsdale, and Luke Allman completing a bit of a messy top 20 there, particularly for Whiting.
Damien Cairns just outside the 20 from Christian Smart, David Kirby, Michael Stewart, Stone Street, Crosby, Brad Doble, Wayne Walker recovered to 28th spot after his issues. John Gallen and Travis Hunt round out your 30.
Such a quick lap here at under a minute 20 that you can quite easily go a lap down. But Scott McCune, Stuart Hall, Dean Flavel, Gary Buckland, Darren Goosey, Greg Sharp, and Justin McLean on the lead lap. His other drivers here within the 75% will be scored finishes. Wayne Sanderson, Chris Miller, and Jamie McKnight. I think Miller and Jamie McKnight just parked it in the last couple of laps there, and Stephen Varga 6 laps down.
So those are the drivers that did indeed park it up for the night. Right, we're going to wander down to the bottom end of the podium and work our way up.
What the fuck? Where did that come from? Shit. Where I should have known, because that's where you were so much faster than me in that first stint before we
Darren, I got
brained ourselves in the pits.
You might have been dragged to the commentary box just a little bit too early there.
Hello, boys.
How's it going? Well, you were clearly in the mid-race discussion with Jordan, and I'm assuming Ken. Was that about fuel strategy with Ken by the sounds of things?
No, not at all. It was actually just Jordan and myself going, that's probably one of the best races we've done in a long time. We need more of that every week. No, we were just talking about the passes that well, the one I tried on him and the couple he tried and then got right on me into the last corner. And how tricky it is because the track just goes from lots of grip to no grip to lots of grip. I was just saying to him, I didn't even think he'd put his nose down the inside when he did. I was so kind of focused on Ken. I'd bridged the gap. I'd kind of watched where he was good, where he was battling, and my focus was to put a move on him on Moss that lap. And the next thing, I turned into the last corner, and it's car to your right, and you're going, where the hell did that car come from? it was great fun, man. That's unfortunately the racing this season I've just found terribly boring. I think it's just a little bit of the nature of these cars and running fixed setup without ARB adjusters and that in the race just makes it a little bit dreary. It's cold track temp, so the tires last pretty good. This race probably turned all of that on its head. It was pretty good.
Well,
I'll come back every week if it's like this.
Well, there's a few points to take out of that one. Number one, I think ARBs we're not really going to know until we ever get them with the car, and the plans were to have them in this car, and that plan got squashed very quickly. So, we'll leave that one for the viewers at home to keep their eye on. But I'm assuming you're okay with the paint being traded. You prefer that sort of biff and barge style of racing. You're fine for that to happen.
Oh, absolutely, man. I've got, we've got closed wheels here. We don't have exposed wheels, so I've got no issue if someone puts their nose down the inside and, they can hold a curb or hold an apex and, you bang doors and that sort of thing. To me, that's what racing's about. I think it's when it gets taken a little bit further than that and cars are spinning out or something like that, I think that's where it's, you kind of push the mark. But that racing now with Jordan was brilliant. I kind of, at the beginning of the race, I hadn't done much practice with Jamie's set, and I generally struggled to get them to turn. And I got it to the front, got a better start than Jordan, and I just kind of thought, well, let's just see where the pace is. Let me figure out how this thing goes as the fuel comes off. And he got his nose up the inside of me a couple times, and I just thought, he's the one leading the championship. I'm gonna be that dog on the outside and lean on him and push him up the inside curbs, and it really worked well. I knew it was coming back to me at some stage.
Well, I was going to say, the defense at Moss seemed to be, all right, you want to shove the nose? Okay, no problem. You're going to struggle for traction out the other side, and you seemed quite comfortable and confident with that as well.
Yeah, it's one of those places we've done. Motorsport must be one of the first tracks that was ever launched on iRacing, just about. And it's kind of one of those places that it is a great overtaking point to get the nose up in the second part of Moss, but that big curb on the inside is just what absolutely wrecks you. So if you get a good run in there and you can get the car turned and a car goes up your inside, if you just get them to push and clip that big curb on the inside, there's just no ways they can get the drive on exit. But the counter to that is if you don't push them onto the curb on the inside, they push you onto the curb on the outside, and the angle's too acute. So it's kind of one has to be done to the other, and I was happy to be the aggressor most times.
Mate, well, congratulations on the result. The big question I have for you is there any way you can replicate this in an 86 on a Monday night?
Man, those 86s kill me. I don't know if it's making my supercar driving any better. I kind of get halfway through practice and realized I've changed my steering ratio. Yeah, I need to get the hang of those youngsters. I think they're making me look stupid in those 86s.
Well, congratulations, mate. Who would you like to give a thank you to? And don't you dare forget YouTube chat, because you've got guys out there holding a beer can for you at the moment.
Yeah, good. They were hurting me up before, and they're probably talking dirty about me. But Neil, Darso, thanks boys. Thanks for the support in there. And whoever else was cheering up the beers. Big thanks to all the DPR boys, Barry Manon from MRP, and obviously every week you guys shouting us on while we drive for 10 race cars again.
No worries, brother. Enjoy the week and settle back in time to go off and practice some 86 for Monday night.
I'll see you in the streets of Long Beach on Monday night, mate.
Oh, that's going to be epic. That is going to be so much fun. I cannot wait for that one, mate. Congratulations. We'll see you later.
Thanks, boys. Cheers.
David Haynes is going to get an opportunity to chat to P2's Jordan Ross from Synergy Sim Racing.
Well, a couple of changes around for this round, Jordan. Just the one compulsory pit stop and then safety car bunching everyone immediately after that window had sort of come to a close.
Yeah, it was all pretty straightforward for all of us. So it was an awesome row. That was my favourite race so far. That was awesome. I had fun with Darren there, and also John, and it was a really hard track to pass. So it was just it was really fun to try and set up a pass, and Darren had a crack there at the end, and it was on for young and old. So it was good fun.
Did it feel straightforward when you engaged reverse gear to get back into your pit stall?
I'm terrible off the starts, and he was a bit cheeky, but I would have done the same thing. He was sort of like blocking my line, and you run a lot of rear bias here, so I come skidding into the box and went a little bit far forward. But mate, Kenny did an awesome job. I'm pumped for him.
Yeah, so tiny bit of change of scenery for you. How's the air pressure down here?
No, it's good. You can see, that it is actually pretty competitive. And once I get back there a little bit, it's not really easy picking. So you got to work for it. These guys are fast, and mate, I'm just enjoying racing these guys because they're not going to dump you. We can bang doors and do everything that you should in a supercar, and it's just enjoyable, mate.
Well done. Still a great result for you at this stage of the championship and this stage of the season. And yeah, you roll your sleeves up a bit, wash your hands after you got them a bit dirty there, and we'll roll on to the next rounds and see you then.
Yeah, thanks guys, and thanks to you guys from SimSpeed that turn up each week, and the organisers, and congrats to Kenny, and thanks to Darren and John for the mad race tonight. See ya.
Well, with that one in the books, it's time to chat to tonight's race winner. Long time between drinks for the Fishy Motorsports driver. Ken Latta gets it done. Mate, were you sitting back and watching them have a go at each other in that first stint? Because all of a sudden you popped out with fresh air on the nose, and we're all sitting here going, where did that come from?
Yeah, I was just trying to sort of take it easy, hit my lines, be smooth, look after the car. And then when it came up to the pit stop time, I was going to go in with Ross because I could see he was going to go, and then Lob decided to go with him, and I was like, stuff that, I'll do another lap. And because it took all the stress out of the pit stop, I had no issues with the pit stop and had a good gap, which is good.
Well,
I couldn't believe it.
Mate, because the guys that were in behind you, John Latham and Wayne Walker, actually got into each other on the pit lane entry, so it was probably a good thing you weren't in that hole, just in case. I think you were safe, but, still worthwhile not being in that little segment, mate. But long time between drinks for a race win. Obviously, that would have felt like a little bit of getting a duck off the back, really.
Oh, it certainly was, and I think in that closing laps, I was just a little anxious because it has been so long since I had a win, and I was just sort of thinking, just take it easy, hit your lines, keep it smooth, and I was able to keep a gap to Ross in the closing lap. So, and I think that sort of took the pressure off a little bit to think, all right, we got this, it's yours to lose, sort of thing. So.
Mate, Motorsport, beautiful track. Obviously, we've been here quite a number of times across the history. But first sort of time in Gen 3, it would have felt significantly different just with the lack of aero. Do you feel more confident with this car, or less confident, feel a lot better with the old car?
Well, like I said at Winton, when I was quick there, I felt that I learnt something about the car, and then I've carried that on to this race on what I've learnt, and I think it's paying off. I might not be the quickest there, but I'm able to stick with these quick guys now, and at least put myself into the hunt to possibly win a race, even on strategy or whatever,
Mate, well, congratulations either way. Who would you like to give a big old thank you and a shout out to? Because I know there's a horde of fishy boys that were always there banging your drum and supporting you.
Oh, for sure. They were absolutely elated with the result for the team, and so thanks to all of them guys. They're always in my corner, and we're all in each other's corner, for hoping for good results. And you guys, because I can't wait to watch the broadcast. I'm sure it's going to be a blast. And Race Control, and our sponsors, West End Motor Group, Infinity Design, DC Shades, Battery Warehouse, Ellie Beach, Precision Sim Training, and also for Lob and Ross. So they sort of mixed it up a bit and sort of made the win a little bit easier for me, I suppose. So thank you.
Mate, congratulations on the race result. Go and enjoy and celebrate with the team.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thank you.
Well, that is going to bring us to the end of our podium celebrations from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. The big question is, where do we head in terms of our driver of the day, and what does that do to our championship standings? Well, it was a 9-point margin between Ken Latta and Darren Lobb coming in here, excluding bonus points from tonight's race, which we cannot factor into these calculations. That margin extends by 9 further points. Wayne Walker didn't have a great night at the office, but he looks set to hold on to P number 4. And Poynton, after a great climb through the field, is going to drop outside of the top 5. Regardless, though, for Mark Poynton, had to come from the tail end of the field, right through up to the midfield, gained a ton of spots, and has had a very, very consistent season, Dave. I feel like that is a deserving driver of the day.
Yeah, sure, let's go. Mark Poynton, Chubby Bunsberger's driver of the day.
So congratulations to Mark, and for me too, Mark, that actually says I do want to congratulate him on a consistent season. That's one of his best results in Vets history on the season to date. Well, round number 7 now in the books. There is going to be 3 more races left to come for season number 23 of the V8 Veterans. Are you going to be here on next Thursday night when we head to the Daytona road course? 300 kilometers, one of the longest races of the season, only equaled by Sebring back at the very, very start of the season. Will we be under lights? Will we be during the daytime? And who has got the bravery to save fuel in what is going to be a draft festive affair? Well, you can see us all again next Thursday night from 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time for round 8 of season 23 of the RaceKraft V8 Veterans. We also want to say a big shout out to all the sponsors that make it possible, not just for the V8 Vets League, but also for SimSpeed to be here. Our title sponsor, RaceKraft Simulations, to John and the crew. If you're looking to get yourself some new sim gear, think about ordering it through RaceKraft. They've just set themselves up down in Melbourne as well. And if you're looking to get in and test the gear, well, if you are south of the New South Wales border and a little bit east of the South Australian border, RaceKraft are now in range for you as well. Logitech G, Nova Sim Sports, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Player One Sim Gear, LGC Images, our Driver of the Day sponsor, Chubby Buns Burgers, and our replay sponsor, SimSpeed. That is it. That's a wrap on Motorsport. And what will Daytona and the Oval bring to us next week?